Hi everybody, welcome to the Ditto Project with Gigi and Nina. And you may have noticed that we have two special guests here today. So I'm going to hand it over to them to introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, I'm Javion Reed or Jay Reed. Mostly I just do consulting and getting financial freedom.
Hello everyone, I'm Malik and Katha. I am a husband, father, software development, and I'm a farmer.
Very, very nice.
Yes, so we are so glad. I think you all have probably noticed we have not dropped an episode in a few weeks. Life is busy.
Wow.
But that's just the reality of life. I think we're very transparent. And we have a lot of stuff going on at all times. But we wanted to come back with a bang. So we decided we wanted to take into consideration some things that you all brought up in the last time we interacted on our Instagram. We talked about the challenges of adulthood and what things have come up for you all that you've been facing, whether you're in your 20s or early 30s. If you're a teenager, you all had a host of things to offer and issues that you're facing. And of course, we wanted to kind of talk about that. It's a broad topic, but so much that we can share, and we wanted to be able to offer a male perspective, so that is why we have Malik and Jay here.
Two very intelligent, respectful, amazing men that we both, really look up to, so thought to bring them on today.
Absolutely. So you did want to kick it off?
Yeah, so first we want to get into, to start this topic, what you all feel may have been one of the biggest challenges that you faced throughout your adulthood, or your life in general, that maybe have catapulted you into something, or just what's a challenge that you feel you faced?
Okay, I can kick it off. I think one of my major challenges was kind of realizing like what the real world is. Graduating college, I felt like that was like the best thing you could do to set yourself up for the next level. And once I realized, like, man, that degree only comes with so much, depending on what you got your degree in. I kind of was a struggle for me right after college. I was like, I didn't know what to do. There was no jobs lined up, so it was like I was just in the world expecting for them to give me something, and nothing was given. So I had to go figure that out, and that took me a few years to kind of settle into what I liked versus what I actually got my degree in.
That's a good one.
For me, something I struggled with going into adulthood was really, finding purpose. Finding purpose, because you get degrees, it's the same thing. You start working, and it's just a grind, right? Because corporate America is just a grind. Be in the office, or before everything was work from home, but be in the office and spend your time and put in your hours and get a raise. And after a while, like the first year, it's like, I got money, and you're like, I got money now. This feels good. Whatever I need to do in the office, I got money now. This is great, right? That's year one. Year two, you like, oh, okay. Year three, it's like, all right now. I need to start doing something different here. And looking for that, and realizing that I need to find a purpose, but not knowing what my purpose is, but knowing that I'm here for a purpose. It's just, you feel like you're going to and fro a little bit, trying to figure out, man, where do I fit in? So,
definitely.
I
can definitely relate to both of those points. I think I graduated during COVID, so 2020, right at the height of everything. So all the plans, I think I talked about this on the earlier podcast, but all the plans I thought I had, it kind of like I had to start from scratch, because nothing was just going how it should be. And I think that was kind of hard for me. I feel like something I realized about myself as I got older is I don't care as much about, or I don't find as much fulfillment in like money and material things as I used to. I still want to have nice things and live a nice lifestyle, but once I realized that it's like everything's just a fast track to 6 figures, and everything is not, the whole plan is not just laid out for me. And then I realized like money is not the only thing that like makes me happy. I think I was kind of forced to face all these different things, and it's like you said, also finding my purpose. It's like, okay, I enjoy work, I enjoy what I studied in undergrad, but what is the thing that really drives me? And I think taking the time to figure out what that is. I don't even know now I know what my purpose is. I think I've been reflecting on it a lot, And I've been thinking about what are the things that I do who are the people I'm talking to, what activities am I engaging in where I feel like, wow, this is just like really feeding my soul.
I think I noticed a common theme in everything that you all were saying. It was obviously very collegiate focused, but I want to know, what do you all think was maybe like your expectations or your thought process, or maybe what other people said to you that you went into college with that made it such a challenge when you graduated and you're like, oh, now I'm having this aha moment? Like, what was said to you? Because, you know, like, for example, you go to a university and people are telling you, like, you know, college is the real world, you know, you need to get out and do this, you need to study this topic, and, you know, and you go into college with this mindset of like, oh, this is the one track way to be successful. So maybe like, what kind of preparatory mindset did you all have leading into that part of your life that when you got out you were like, this is a little bit different?
I think, and honestly, I was the first person in my family to go to college and graduate college, so it was like told to me that that was the way, like that was the only way. Like, if you go to college, you'll be successful. Like, that was the end all be all. So I went into college like, okay, all I have to do is finish. Like, once I finish, it'll be exactly how I want it, and I'll be good. Not knowing the different, you know, no one taught me the different career paths, you know, what each individual major could come, what jobs come with it. So I ended up picking a major that I thought I wanted to be in, but I didn't like none of the jobs. So I was like, wow, this is different. So I was like, I graduated in 2018 with a bachelor's in criminal justice. And I'm like, cool. Then I figured out I didn't want to be a cop. So it kind of was like, man, okay, now what do I do? Now I have to go out and figure it out. And yeah, I think that's kind of like the little things that were said to me was like, hey, all you have to do is finish college. You're the one to do it, and go do it.
My experience was a little different because I've always liked computers. So for me, like, the natural next step was to go for computer science. And while I was in college, I wish I would have went into the mindset of just taking academics more seriously. Like, no, I'm the first one to go to college as well, and just academic rigor was just not in my family. Like, my dad, I come home from school, my dad would say, "What you got for homework? Or what you learn at school?" It's like, no homework. I really learned that. You know, and I'd give him, you know, run a little bit down, and he'd be like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So I wish I would have taken my academics more seriously in school. And I got it together like my junior, senior year. But there's so much more you can do if you take it serious your freshman, sophomore year. Like, you're already in position for internships. Like, I didn't get an internship until my senior year because my grades weren't in order. So it's going into the mindset like, I'm going to come onto this campus. I'm paying for it. It's expensive. I'm going to take advantage of every, you know, good opportunity that's on the campus. I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to do internships. You know, I'm going to do community service. I'm going to meet, you know, the politicians in my area because it's easy to sit down with them when you're a college student. They'll sit down with you. I wish I would have did more of that. And that being prepared to go to college and take advantage of those opportunities is something that I wish I would have had. I did pick a good major.
Definitely because you're there. I think that's so interesting because I think that speaks to originally what you were saying about purpose. And I feel like I was afforded the opportunity to go to an excellent private school, as you all know, and I feel like purpose was something that was driven into us prior to you know, leaving the school. But
you're talking about high school, right?
Yeah. I feel like well, I actually went to a private school for college too, but that's totally different. I feel like if I had known, like, similar to what you said, I ended up going to school for finance, as you all know. I actually did not want to go to school for finance. I wanted to be a cosmetologist, but everybody in my family was like, heck no, that's not gonna happen. We're not paying for you to go to school for cosmetology. So I ended up, you know, going to school for finance, and turns out I was good with numbers. I still work in finance to this day. But I feel like had I known exactly what my purpose is, you know, maybe even more fleshed out than it was, like, I want to build businesses from ground zero all the way up using my financial knowledge, or had a purpose for what I was doing. Like you said, I feel like my freshman and my sophomore year, it would have went so much smoother because my freshman and my sophomore year, when I got there, and I talked about this previously, that originally I was like, I academic rigor. I gotta do what I gotta do, this, that, and the third, because I grew up an honor roll student. I was very intelligent. My family emphasized that in me and everything. But when I got to school, I was like, this is a joke. Like, because everybody there is very intelligent. That's no longer a personality trait. Like, you can't just be like, I'm smart. Other people are also smart. So you have to figure out something else. And because of that, I kind of like let academics taper off. Whereas had I had a purpose, I came in knowing this is what I'm here for, not just to get this degree, but this is the knowledge that I need to ascertain in order to go somewhere in life. I feel like it just would have been much more impactful for me, and I wouldn't have faced so many challenges leaving college of like, what am I doing now? So yeah,
definitely. Kind of I want to focus in on this concept of purpose, and I know we've been talking about our careers and things like that, so I would love to know, do you all think that you have found your purpose? If you did or you didn't, just kind of what that journey has been like. And then also, do you even feel like your purpose is related to what you do as your career? It might not be.
Yeah,
I'll talk about that. But yeah.
You can go first.
Okay. All right. So for me, like I said, I don't know if I found my purpose, but I feel like my career has always allowed me in some way to help people. And I actually was talking to somebody just about the things that I studied in college, my degrees in community health, and now I work in kind of legal and finance, but still in like the public health arena. But I'm kind of in a disconnected way. I like to help people, and I don't think I realized that until recently. And I think about, even though that's what I do with my career, all throughout college I was on executive boards for like mentorship organizations and things like that. And I honestly think that is one of the things that might be related to my purpose. I'm still not sure, but I think for me, I love being able to take younger women, especially younger Black women and women of color, and be able to offer resources and assistance in the areas that I think I might have some type of connections in or some type of experience in. And I think I'm like super proud of one of my mentees, Mariah. If you see this, I love you. She was one of my like favorite mentees when I was in college, and she was a little hothead, and she wasn't really sure what she wanted to do once she graduated school and all these different types of things, and she just faced a lot of challenges. But I think me being able to offer some intel about the struggles that I went through when I was in a younger grade and things like that, and being able to say, you know what, you're struggling in this area and I don't have expertise in it, but I know somebody who does, and kind of being able to offer a hand and then letting her do what she wanted to do after that. I feel like a little mini parent. And then she went on to like get her master's recently and all this different type of stuff, and now she's working in like kind of the social work field, which has been, it's just a very impactful area. But that's just one example. And then in the mosque, I'm a Muslim, and I love interacting with like the junior vanguard and things like that. So that's like the 12 to 16 age range, or 12 to 18. Yeah. And I love being around them, and I think it's like I can understand even when they're being angsty and angry and attitudey, kind of being able to understand what I was like when I was that age, and kind of being there to talk through it and mentor. I think that might be one of the things related to my purpose. I'm still not sure. God might show me something totally different, but for example, that's not what I do as a career necessarily. But like I said, I like to help people, and I'm kind of doing that in my career, but I don't work at a mentorship organization right now. So it's kind of been interesting to see like what I dedicate my time to in my 9 to 5. Even though I do enjoy it, it's not necessarily the thing that like feeds my soul the most. And I've been blessed to kind of have some time to figure that out. I'm still figuring it out, but
to piggyback off what you just said, I honestly, I think I'm the complete opposite. I feel like I'm working in my purpose currently, which is great because it took me so long to get here. But as I was stated before, I graduated with a bachelor's in criminal justice, so I've never used my degree. Never. I've never used my degree, and so I was like, man, what do I? It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. Like out of college, I was like working at moving companies, like regular jobs you can get without a degree. Then recently, what was this like? It's been like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I actually got a position to work at a like court, like in Inglewood. So I was like, okay, great. Then I just got another job like 8 months ago, working as like the youth development coach, but it's not like youth, it's like young adults. It's like 18 to 26. So like in range is like my age, and I'm like, cool. And that's when I learned, like, man, I like helping people elevate. Yeah, like I was saying, I think I found my purpose in the last few years working, one at the court I was working for like 2 years ago, and I just recently became a youth development coach like 8 months ago, which kind of gave me my sense of purpose, helping people elevate to a new level. I have a caseload now of like 30 people, and not all 30 of them are active, but like the guys I see every day, just seeing young people like around my age that just are down on their luck from either like catching cases or you know what I'm saying, becoming like a part of the system, where now they're like, man, I can't get a job, I can't feed my family, I can't get a place to stay, I need like something. And so being able to be at the level that I'm at now and to kind of pour into them like things they've never been taught or things they've never known, it's like, man, what? I can get my own place to stay? I can get my own building? I'm like, yeah, you can. Yeah, it's not hard to rebuild your life or rebuild whatever you have going on. It just takes like dedication and consistency. And just seeing them grow every day is kind of like what fills my heart with like joy. It's like, man, okay, last week you would have probably cussed that person out, but you didn't. You called me instead. Which is dope. So I think that's...
You have to get a name, but like a success story that you're like really proud of. Listening to this example, it's like an individual, you've really seen that transformation.
Of a success story. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I have a guy who's was at the court with us. So, backstory. I said I don't work in my field of like criminal justice, but at the court I'm a peace circle keeper. I have a plethora of guys that are active gang members, and so that's a struggle in itself. To where they're like, this is the life I live every day. So us having guns, us getting caught for drug cases, us getting pulled over, that's our daily life. And so to be like, hey, there's something better than that. There's a few guys, whether it be Devin or I have like two brothers that both were in the same gun case. To get them jobs, and they're like, okay, now I can stop doing what I'm doing because now I have a job that's stable income, and now I can get my own place to stay. Those are like the success stories for me. It's like, okay, I don't have to be on the block no more because I have stable income, which means I can get my own place. I don't have to stay with the guys, you know, and that's just the best thing ever. It's like, okay, now they won't get shot anymore because I have a young guy right now, got shot before. Just last weekend, he got shot again. So I took him, he stays out west, so I took him to my other job to get a job. He's like, okay, if him and his brother can get a job, his twin brother can get a job and get a place to stay. That's not at their mom's house. That's not where all their ops are. So just making sure those people have those opportunities is the biggest thing for me to lead a different life.
You know what's so interesting about that to me? The Honorable Minister List Fire Contest, I'm not quoting it perfectly, but basically that we have like 10 or so things that we do really, really well that all feed into this greater gift that we have. And earlier you were mentioning like you don't think your criminal justice degree is related to your purpose, but I almost feel like it is. Like it seems like, you know, when you hear criminal justice, obviously people have controversial opinions about it, like, oh, you're fighting for bad guys type thing. But it's not that. We know realistically that our community is disproportionately affected by, you know, going to jail, crime, and all of that. And it really comes from different circumstances. So it sounds like you're dealing with those circumstances directly. And even if you don't think directly it's related, maybe even something you learned in those classes, now subconsciously you're bringing that forward and able to help.
That's the perfect way.
Yeah, I see that too. And then, you know, when someone talks about their case, you're actually able to follow them, and you know, you can say something that makes sense or resonates with them that you can relate. So I see that too.
I appreciate that. I think it's I think I got that point to where I was like, I'm not using my degree because I was like, I think I got my degree to be a lawyer actually, but I figured out that's not what I want to do. Like I just can't stand going to school for any more time than what I did. I was like, this is it for me. But then I was like, okay, what jobs come with my degree, or what? They was like, oh, probation officer, or you can work for the city of Chicago and be a police officer or a fireman, or somebody's parole officer. All those, I was like, no, like no.
Yeah.
So I guess in a certain aspect of what I was, to your point, taught is restorative justice, and so that's a lot of what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I feel like you're stepping into that pipeline when we hear about the school to prison pipeline, and just kind of the age range you talked about. You work with 18 to like 26, right?
Yeah.
That's just like you're being able to step in. Of course, you said some of them have cases, but stepping in before they get in that system forever, getting them off that path, because it's just such a developmental age, and yeah.
I mean, a lot of the things that our communities need is resources, but another thing is like mentors, like figures that they can look up to. And I can't tell you how many people just call me, like, hey, what's going on? How you feeling? Or just need somebody to talk to, somebody they can look up to that looks like them. There's not a lot of people that looks like them that they can look up to that's not doing drugs or gangbanging or been there for them when their parents weren't, but they doing all the wrong things. That's literally essentially what it is. These people that they look up to have been there for them when their parents weren't, and they just doing the wrong things. If somebody had stepped in and was doing the right things and did the same thing they did, then they would be on a better trajectory. But they're just not.
And honestly, that's just making me think about, the people you talk about, some of them may not have even graduated high school, but you went to college, you got a degree. But I think it's just so admirable that you're staying in the communities and staying connected to the people. I feel like so many times we get a degree or a really good job, and it's like, oh, I'm out of that neighborhood, I'm done with those people, that's not my scene anymore. But it's like, our people still need us, and it's like, now that you have more resources and things to offer, it's like, why don't you stay connected and go back to serve the community that you came from? So I think it's really admirable that you're staying connected and being able to use the privileges that you had to impact more people. So that's really big.
Yeah. And then using your gift to give back to our community, because there's something that I've noticed with our people that went to college and they work in corporate America. There's a fear. There's like a real fear, that they have from the media and the news of coming back to our people. But then when you start coming back around, you realize,
what am I scared of?
What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? I've been, you can get brainwashed just watching the news and everything that's going on. And then you can feel as if almost powerless in the sense that, there's nothing I can do about it, right? But then you actually start going in the community and you meeting people and he's like, wait a minute, like, I have skills. If the skill set that I have is worth something to this multi-million-dollar corporation and they're paying me all this money to do it, surely, it's worth something to our people out here in this community.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point.
They're paying you $100,000, $200,000 to work in their office or work on their problems. Like, you don't think you could use that skill set to solve some problems in the community? But you gotta be present.
Be present.
I think. Oh no, you go.
I just think, and my one of my VPs just said this literally yesterday. We had like a Juneteenth event in North Lawndale, and he was saying that what's keeping our people from going back into those communities is just trauma. We don't want to go back to that place where you've been shot or you had to run away from. You don't want to go back and help. It's like, I'm afraid that when I do go back, something bad is going to happen. Most of the time, all of our people that have trauma from those neighborhoods, it only comes from that one place, that one block. So if I go back to help, it's like, you never know who is envious of you. You never know who wants to be where you are or is mad that you got to where you got to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You never know. So it's like, if I go back, anything can happen. But my VP, he definitely was like, I still continue to help that community. I just don't have to stay there to help them. So I think that's a big thing, is just understanding what our traumas are and reaching back out.
Yes, I agree with that.
Got you.
But I also have
Talk to me.
a contrary opinion because I think that, first off, it's so interesting to me and everything that everybody's been saying that really when we all talk about a purpose, it's linked to service somehow. And I think that's a really big thing in communities of color, is that we always have this inclination to give back. Not good or bad, it's just naturally within us. But I think the points that you all were making about, being fearful of going back to that community, I think that we kind of have to analyze where that comes from. I get it. Trauma happens within your community. Understood. But if all 4 of us live in the same community, all 4 of us see trauma in our community daily, we can give the community resources. We can.
Sure.
But what is going to stop the trauma? Like, if all of us say, oh, we gonna live in Beverly, but we're gonna give Chatham resources. Yeah. Okay, the resources can help, but somebody has to be here to be like, hey, cut this out. Here's something. And I think what happens is, and this was one experience that I had. I used to work for a finance firm, Goldman Sachs. I don't work there no more. There's no reason I can't say that. But I used to work for Goldman Sachs as a financial analyst, and the work I was doing was honestly like so sucking. Like it didn't do anything for me whatsoever. And towards the end of my tenure there, I talked to somebody who she was a woman of color. She was part of the LGBTQ community, and I was picking her brain because I'm like, she seemed like such a person who was like very passionate. She was also Muslim. She was very passionate about, you know, serving others. And I'm like, how can you work here? Like, this is literally not connected to that at all. And she's like, oh, well, through all of these programs, I'm helping. And that's good, that's great. Through all of these programs, we're helping. But who is in the field, like, you know, is that riddled to the little man who's like, you didn't go corporate, so you the one who have to stay behind and be the one to administer these resources? I feel like when we are in these privileged communities or privileged realities, you know, we go to college, we go to corporate, we do have to also accept the burden of, we do have to come back. Like, and that's a challenge in and of itself. Like, you have to face those traumas, and God forbid you don't want nothing to happen to you crazy while you're in that community, but somebody has to be the first person to say, you know what, I'm gonna buy the house over there and I'm gonna do what I gotta do to help restore that community. Because if we all just give resources, sure, there may be a little man behind who's like, okay, I'll accept the burden, but they don't have the privileged experiences that, you know, we are afforded to be able to do everything they can do, you know, even if they are receiving the resources. So I think that's just a different perspective that I maybe have about, you know, giving back.
And definitely I think it's important to not look at our communities as like charity cases, and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna sprinkle my little help here and that's just gonna kind of help my guilty conscience or anything like that. But you really have to be, like you all said, be present and be willing to commit. This is not, oh, I'm gonna check in, I'm gonna offer these things, check in every 3 months, check in every month or whatever. What are they supposed to do with these things that you offered them? People need guidance. You need somebody there every day to be an example and to help. So.
And what's really lacking is the vision, right? Going back to, I know that I can be something different because I see someone that looks just like me doing something different. And not only do I see you, like, you're accessible. Like you talked about the brothers calling you. The fact that they know that they can pick up their phone and, you know, reach out to Jay is a game changer for them, you know. So, you know, in the mosque as well, you know, we go out in the communities, and I shared that one of the things that I do is farming. And like these guys that have trauma in their neighborhoods, but when you get them out into a farm, you see like the little kid come out because like they're no longer looking at every car coming by. They don't have the stash in the neighborhood that they can go run to. They just completely new, right? So you see like the little child come out of these young guys who are you know, that people are afraid of, you know, quote unquote. So, you know, doing that and getting them into farming and learning how to grow your own food and teaching them how to grow their own food is where I feel like my passion lies. You know, personally, I feel like that's where my passion lies. And teaching them how to eat. You know, because a lot of them, you know, they grow up, they got the
food deserts.
The food deserts, the chips, and just showing them what's possible and how much food you can get. This was on Saturday. I had a young brother with me. We were 3 hours, like a big harvest day. In 3 hours, we harvested like 21 pounds of lettuce.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we harvested like 10 pounds of collard greens, 10 pounds of Swiss chard, and 15 pounds of radishes. And this was in like 3 hours. And then I let him, you know, take some food back home to his family. And we were riding in the car. He was like, man, that wasn't even a whole lot of work. I was like, yeah, he was like, that wasn't even a whole lot of work. And I was like, yeah. He's like, man, when I learned about farming in school, all I saw was slavery and in the field. You know, but we in modern times now. You can grow a lot of food with, you know, mechanized systems. You don't have to be, you know, you can get that if you want to. You get the shovel in the wheelbarrow, but you don't have to.
Right.
You know, you don't have to. So, but them having that access to know that they can call me like, Malik, you gonna go farming this Saturday? You gonna go farming on like Monday morning? Like, yeah, it's like, man, come pick me up. You know, and now they're talking about, oh, I want to buy some land. And now the guys like, man, we can put some money together. We can put some money together and get some land. We don't have to, you know, be out here. You know, so that it's being accessible.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I want to hear more about that. When did you start farming? I want to know.
How did you find out?
Yeah, like how did you know this was a passion?
So, the Elements was far kind of has a lecture series. Time Must Be Done. Part 36. That's when he really starts going into agriculture, right? Just how important it is for us to grow our own food and not have our mouths in the enemy's kitchen because they're killing us. You know, with all these fast food places, they're killing us. So in that lecture, he says, and if you want to learn how to grow food, go online and search growing power. So I was like, all right. So I go, that's I searched growing power. He's like, learn from Will Allen. So I searched it, and then it was defunct because, you know, the Time Must Be Done. It was, you know, 2013, 2012. It was in the past. This was 2020 at this point. So he was like, man, I got to find Will Allen. He said, find Will Allen. So I started searching him up, and I learned he had a spot in Wisconsin. So the summer of 2020, I would actually drive up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh wow!
In the summer,
dedication.
just do an apprenticeship with him. So I did that. I did that throughout the summer. Like we would drive over, bring brothers with me. I'd be like, y'all gotta try these raspberries off the bushes. Like you ever had raspberries right off the bush? It tastes like candy. And I'd bring it with me. And then so just learning, continue to do that. And then by the end of the summer, he was like, you know, my daughter has a program in Chicago, right? I was like, so I was like, man, if you can get me in there. So I started, finished the first year of the apprenticeship. I'm in my second year now, and it's the grower's apprenticeship. You know, they teach you how to grow food, like from seed or from transplanting, and then how you actually go about bagging it in a way that's, you know, that's ready to be sold, and the whole process. So just, you know, I'm still in the apprenticeship, so I can bring these brothers with me. You know, and it's an 8-acre space in Chicago, tucked off somewhere, and they can just come.
Nice.
Wow.
You know,
So you just started this in 2020, it sounds like.
2020.
Okay, do you mind sharing your age? And just because I want to know, it's like to see that you don't have to figure out what all your passions at 18 years old, just kind of talking about that, discovering these things as you get older.
Yeah, so I'm 30. I'm 30 years old. And honestly, I never thought that I would end up in farming, and it speaks to purpose because you may not even know what you're going to end up in.
Right.
My hometown is Las Vegas, so a desert. Right. I grow up, you know. Grow up in the desert. You know, with working on computers the whole time. So I'm thinking I was going to be in tech. You know, little did I know I'd end up farming. Farming and really having a passion for it, and like, you know, seeing people's faces when they try some lettuce, like this is a different type of lettuce. I mean, this is real lettuce. You know, this is real raspberries. This is you know, real bell peppers. You know, and I love it.
So how do you feel like your background of like being in tech and your studies of computer science, do you feel like that's related to what you're doing at all, or have you seen like any linkage between those two?
I do. So tech. And this tech allows you to work remote, like you can live anywhere, and you know, still make good money. So tech allows me, like, you know, I could go work for work with companies that are in Silicon Valley, but then I can live in like Stager, Illinois, and buy a place that has like a lot of land. You know, Crete, Illinois. You can get in these south suburbs that have these big lot sizes, and not worry about, I have to live close to the city in order to be able to farm. Even though you can still farm in the city, you can still do a lot in the backyard. And I'm seeing as a huge opportunity for that. You know, if you can be remote and you want to go get some land, you can do it. You know, you can do it and work it. And then that could be, you know, the way that you do for Southern. Because there's a lot of opportunity in land. So much opportunity if you grow your own food.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. I think we're in a very, what's the word for when it's opportunity? There's a lot of opportunity. I don't know, but there's a lot of opportunity. Everybody, it's like the golden age. A lot of people are working from home. You can dedicate so much more time to those other things that are sparking your interest. I mean, I'm not condoning doing other work.
Stealing time.
I'm not saying stealing time, but I'm just saying there's so much more flexibility because your days are not so much eating up 2 hours in the morning, commuting to the office, 2 hours back, all these different types of things. It's like you can have time to educate yourself on so many other things and your passions, and it's like, okay, yep, I do this, but I also do this too. So definitely, I agree with that.
I have a question for everybody from what you all have been talking about. Amina kind of hinted on it when she was talking a little bit about timeline, but do you all feel like there is any pressure there, like timeline wise? Because something that I think I've seen being high achieving and you're younger sometimes is that there's a risk of, no way this can be my purpose right now. What am I gonna do for the next 30, 40 years? How am I gonna grow in this? Or, you know, dang, I need to kind of find my purpose quickly. So do you all feel like there is any type of internal timeline that either you have put on yourself or others have put on you, you know, to kind of get to that purpose and fulfill that purpose?
I got 2 answers to this question.
Okay, shoot.
One, I feel like it's 50-50 with social media. That kind of, you know, imposes like, hey, what are you doing if there's 18-year-olds that are millionaires just like off YouTube? Just like, man, you're right. Yeah, right. So it's like that. You get that kind of thing, but then on the other hand, you got a whole nother side of social media that's like, hey, it's okay to be just finding your purpose at 36. You know, it's no rush to it because you're on your own timeline. So it's kind of 2 different things with social media, because you got half and half saying, hey, you better get started doing something, and the other half like, hey, take your time. So it's kind of, you know, difficult to kind of, you know, internally digest that and be like, who do I listen to type thing. But also I feel like for me, that timeline, I kind of rush myself. I feel like just because I personally feel like, hey, the sooner I get to where I want to go, the sooner I can help more people. Right now I feel like, or like 2 years ago, I was like, man, I can only help myself. Like, and I'm like, I don't like that. And so the more I started to try and do, the more I started to put myself out there, the more I was able to help other people and just be able to give back. And that's where I found my purpose. So I'm like, that timeline, I kind of rushed myself because I'm like, I'm so hard on me. But it's like, man, I'm here, but I need to be there. But I'm like, how do I get there? But God has been teaching me like patience and like timing. Because it's like, it's not my time. It's not my timing. And I'm not on my timing. I'm on His time. You know, I'm following His path.
Talk about His time.
So yeah, that's kind of what I've been kind of struggling with, is like being patient and kind of going with just making the right decisions right now.
Yeah, I think I also have similar feelings. I'm a just very fast moving person, so I feel like I definitely had a timeline for my life. I'm like, this is gonna happen in this year, and when I'm done with this is gonna happen, all these different types of things. But I feel like there have been so many lessons. I think that I've learned that I can learn so much if I just live in the moment and let things happen on their own time. Like you said, it's really about being patient, and I think now I've gotten to the point where I'm okay where I'm at and I'm patient, but sometimes external pressures can be a lot. Like you said, like social media, everybody's like, this needs to happen, and I'm doing this. Like you said, 18-year-olds, they're making $1 million and they just do YouTube. It's like, I don't want to do YouTube for my career. I'm sorry. Like,
here we are.
I know, right? Literally, we're doing this podcast, but I'm like, do I really care about making $1 million? No. Do I think I need to make this amount of money by 24 next year? Do I feel like I need to be married by 25? Or all these different types of things. So many timelines, and you need to make all of this impact. And it's like, God is working in me, and I'm just gonna let Him, you know, sit in the driver's seat, and I'm just trying to follow. Of course, you always want to make progress and things like that, but I kind of had to learn to tune out other people's voices, because everything that happens for you is not going to be the thing that happens for me. Just because that thing happened for you at this time doesn't mean that it's also going to happen for me at that time. So just definitely, like you said, also learning patience.
I feel like it's actually been like reversed for me. Like, I wouldn't say I had a timeline when I was younger, but always I have been like, there's an obstacle and I can achieve it. That was just always how I was thinking. So I wouldn't say, oh, I need to be married by this age. I mean, of course I was young. I said, oh, I want to be married by blah, blah, blah. But I would set a goal, and then I would monitor, like, did I achieve my goal or not? But I feel like I'm very confident in myself and my abilities. And because of that, any goal I set, I've been fortunate enough to achieve by the grace of God. So now there is no timeline, which is not necessarily as good as it sounds, because it's like, okay, what's the next step? I had a conversation with my supervisor a while back, and currently I work as a senior finance manager. And my supervisor was like, so I had this conversation twice with my supervisor and then our VP of like HR. And they were saying like, what's your 5-year plan? I was like, I have no idea. Okay, what's your 3-year plan? I was like, I have no idea. They're like, what's your 1-year plan? But I feel like I have no idea because where I thought I would be, I'm there. But that kind of speaks to what kind of goal was that you could achieve it this quickly and you have no other goals after that. But it's also like, okay, now I need to figure something else out. So it's like, it's the opposite of having this timeline where I feel like I need to knock this off, knock this off, knock this off. And that's kind of what I was talking about in the question of like, okay, when you do everything so quickly, and my mom used to tell me this, she used to be like, don't be trying to rush to do stuff, because what are you gonna do when you're 30? And I'm like, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. But she did know what she was talking about. Okay, like, now I'm 23. I got the house I wanted, you know, I am married, I'm in the position that I want, I'm able to lead a team at work, you know, I make the money that I expected to make. And it's like, okay, now you need to figure out some type of thing for your life of like, what's the next goal? Because I think we hear it all the time, like, you don't know what you're gonna do, you're gonna do anything. Like, you'll just be going anywhere. And I think that's what's really hard for me, because I don't feel like I found my purpose. I feel like I'm in the ether doing, you know, I feel like, of course, I'm on a path. I learn and I grow every day, and I find like, oh, I really like this versus I really like this. But because I didn't go into something thinking like, what do I really want to get out of this? I was just like, here's a target, hit it. Here's a target, hit it. Here's a target, hit it. I'm now in this like space of like, okay, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know where I'm gonna go from here. So I think that's like exact opposite of what you all were kind of speaking to. So, yeah.
I think what's interesting about that is when you do find your purpose, it's kind of like, it's not like a goal. It's like, this is how I'm giving back to the world. Type thing. And so there is no kind of like plateau to it. It's like, I can always do more to help the world. I can always feed more people. I can always farm more. I can always help other people learn to farm. So I think that's the limitlessness of finding your purpose. That's really important. There's no like, oh, I made it.
There's no end goal.
There is no I made it. So I think that's really dope. I did have a question. To your point, how do you kind of navigate patience with like complacency? Because I know I struggle with, okay, I need to be patient, but then it's like, there'll be times where I'm not doing nothing. It's like, is this okay? Is this okay to just not be like progressing or degressing? Like, what am I doing?
I think I am the exact opposite of a complacent person. So I don't think that's something that, because I have always been like I said, I put a lot of pressure on myself to achieve things. And then now I'm just now learning to sit in it. I think the thing that's comforting to me is I achieved some things at an early age. So I'm like, some people don't have these accomplishments until they're like 40 years old, 42, 43. So for me, that's kind of a comfort, knowing that's like, you're ahead. So take a second to sit back. But I'm never not looking to progress. I'll say that. So just because I'm not rushing to the next stage doesn't mean I'm not working and trying to be better. Like, just because I have a good job and I'm enjoying it, and I'm not rushing to be the next president of a company, also does not mean I'm not trying to do a good job in what I'm doing. Okay, like, what's the next move? What could happen in the next 6 to 12 months in my career? So I am looking at those things, but I think it's more so like being prayerful and reflective and like, okay, if this is the next move you want to happen, let it happen, asking God to let it happen on his time. So I think, there's a quote from Pastor from, it's like, let no one excel you in anything. So I want to do excellent in every single thing I do. But so I think that kind of goes directly against the complacency thing. I don't ever get complacent, but also doing excellent does not mean I need to push myself beyond capacity, trying to just check things off of a list, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I got something on that as well. So early on, the same thing. I became like a senior software engineer. Really young. Got married, and then I had children. So before I had children, my mindset was just go, 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 go. I have to constantly be developing, learning some new skill, implementing it, working. And now that I have children, I'm realizing the difference between complacency and patience is, are you resting for a moment? Like there be times that I have my children all day, whole day, and they finally are in the bed, and then my brain's like, okay, you got that. Now remember that thing you said you were gonna work on? Like you got 2 hours to work on that thing now. And I'm like, I can do this tomorrow. I can wake up early tomorrow. I can take an hour. I can take this moment to just rest and decompress. I think complacency comes when that's your habit. Where anytime you get that moment, it's never, like, I'm going to work on the next goal. It's always rest. It's always leisure. But when you're grinding and you're focused on, building something or accomplishing a goal, it's okay to take a moment. It's okay to take a moment and say, all right, I'm taking this hour or 2 hours, and I'm gonna watch that movie. You know what? I'll go watch that movie. Like when it becomes a habit, like you always just watching movies and never working on your goals, that's complacency. But the taking time to decompress is necessary. Taking that time, you need it. You need it.
Yes, that's how the progress is. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's how progress is sustainable, because if you're just overworking yourself, okay, next move, you're going to burn out. Next thing you know, you're not doing anything because you just have no more mental capacity, physical capacity. So taking those little moments of rest, that's like gives you what you need to, tomorrow I can pick right back up. So definitely important.
And when I do push, like, cause I've done it before, like I push and do those moments, like I'm gonna squeeze in 2 hours here. It's never as productive as I wanted it to be.
That's a good point.
It's never exactly what I wanted to be. It's like, I could have just did something else this time instead. So.
Yeah. I think from that, I want to slightly pivot and just ask, what do you all think? So we've been talking a lot about like growth, challenges we've been facing, timelines. What is the sense you've gotten of others' perspective of this timeline that you've gone through? Like, how do you feel like, has anyone in your family, your friends, or anything expressed like their opinion about like their thoughts about it, and how has that like impacted you all?
So I'm 26. A lot, and I'm sure you guys get this also, a lot of people, especially older than me, one of my mentors, he just turned like 40. He was like, man, if I had your like mind state when I was your age, I would be 10 times farther than I am now. And so I get that a lot, like, man, you're going like 100 miles an hour, you're doing really well for your age. And I'll be like, wow, people think this? I'm like, this, I didn't know that this was what they thought. I feel like I'm am where I'm supposed to be at this age, or where most people should be if they did what I did, or made the decisions I made. But everybody's decisions are different. So, but then again, I'm hard on myself, so I'll be like, I feel like I could be farther.
Right.
I feel like I could. I'm supposed to be 5 steps farther than what I am now. So if you're appreciative of my mindset where I am now, wait, a year from now, type thing for me.
Okay, so thank you all so much for sharing. We talked a lot about careers and purpose and things like that. So I kind of want to pivot because we're talking about like the challenges that come with adulthood. So what has been your biggest challenge outside of work and career that you've faced being an adult, I guess?
I'd say feeling balance. It's always balance. Am I giving enough to like lay a foundation for my family? Am I putting enough time there? Am I giving my wife enough time? Am I giving my children enough time? It's constantly pouring into like the different buckets and making sure that you're pouring enough. Like, am I giving the mosque, the community enough time, right? And that's the most challenging, something that I'm still wrestling with. you know, still trying to figure out. And I have moments where it's like, man, I am doing good. Like everything, my cup runneth over right now, right? And then other times where it's just like, man, I am on E, and I just need to, you know, go into bed and sleep or something, or pray. So yeah, balance. That's the most difficult thing, and finding strategies to balance, I think, is the most important aspect. Like the times where I feel like I'm firing on all cylinders, is when I'm paying deliberate attention to each thing. So when I'm spending time with my children, I'm not on my phone. Like I'm here, I'm focused. If I'm going to give this an hour, you know, hour and a half, I'm focused. Or if it's a career goal, I'm here, I'm focused. Same thing on the mind. So just continuing to be present. Whenever you're you know, in these different areas, but doing it intentionally and continuously is the thing that I struggle with. Right? Because it's so easy to drift off. I'm sitting back, I'm gonna get on my phone, I'll see what's on Instagram, see what's on, you know.
Sure.
So yeah. So, sure.
I think from that, I have a similar challenge, and it's kind of related to what I was talking to earlier. But I think when there are like so many things you could be doing, and it's like figuring out, okay, which direction do I want to go, but it's almost to the point that you end up doing nothing. Like, and I think that really weighs heavily on me, because I think when you know so much and you believe in yourself and you know you have potential, you're like, okay, I can do this and I can do this and I'm good at this and I'm good at this. But you get overwhelmed with, there's 20 million things that literally I could be doing. And it's like going down all those paths, especially in this regular life. You know, I'm married, you know, I have a job, you know, I have commitments with religion-wise, friends, all of that. So it's like, okay, I want to invest in these other things about myself that I know. I want to give my mind an opportunity to explore. I want to see, you know, prepare for this. Maybe if next year I want to do this endeavor, okay, what kind of prep work do I need to do to get my mind there? But then it's like, I'm so overwhelmed with thinking about all of these different things. And even if it's something as small as like self-care, I decide I want to start taking vitamins. Okay, I should research all the vitamins that it's just like everything keeps like popping. And it's like, I don't know, like, you know, and I feel like it gets me into a mode where it's almost, I wouldn't call it depression or anything, but it's like I get down because I'm like, okay, you're actually not doing anything right now. Like, you didn't end up researching the vitamins, you didn't research this, you didn't do, like, you're not moving forward because I'm so consumed by, there's 20 million things that I could be doing right now, and I can't really put my mind to one. So that is a struggle, sort of balance, of like balancing all of the opportunities that I could have to better myself, but like, which one deserves this moment in my life?
For me, I would say a struggle outside of my career would probably be, and I'm still mastering this, but like consistency. Like just giving consistency to things outside of work, like going to the gym, or, you know, reading, and, you know, making sure I pray every night. Those are like things that requires consistency. And like previously it was like, whew, I would go to the gym for a week, then I wouldn't go for like 3 weeks, and then it'd be like, oh, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be staying consistent. But finding my consistency and finding like a routine has been really helping me stay in that consistent moment, being able to be like, okay, if I say I'm gonna do this, these are the days, these are the time I'm doing this. And that has been a struggle for me coming out of college, because there was no consistency. It was like, hey, do whatever you want, whenever you want, just make sure your work is done, kind of thing. So I didn't build any consistency in that sense, but I had to build it myself, because I didn't have anybody to kind of pour into me that consistency piece, or this is what you should be doing type thing. So I've been working on that, and it's been going pretty well for right now.
Yeah, consistency is like crucial, and accomplishing anything. Consistency. Wow, that's a big one.
Do you all feel like either you with balance or you with consistency, that there is anything that you've implemented right now that really helps you, like establish? I know you mentioned like, okay, this is the time for this, but is there anything that you all feel like, you know, this definitely is what's helping me overcome that?
Scheduling for me, like scheduling is crucial. Like what it is, saying, okay, everybody knows, well, not everybody, but everybody that I give my time to knows, okay, I'm going to the gym Monday, Sunday, and Friday. If I have time to go a 4th day, I'm going, but that's on some extracurricular type thing. But those are the days I'm gonna go, so I can't really do nothing during those times between 3, because when I go to the gym, I'm there for like 6 hours. Like, I just have to go and get a really thorough workout in where I can leave and feel like refreshed. That's like one of my self-cares. So, and I found it as one of my self-cares. I used to dread going to the gym.
Okay.
So now it's like, oh man, I love being here type thing. But scheduling for sure, because whether it's making time for myself, making time for this, making time for that, scheduling it and having it on my phone and my calendar, or at least written down, helps me stay dedicated to doing that. Because if I look at it and I say, oh, I missed that, I'll be like, I'm on myself, like, oh man, you can't miss that next week, or you can't miss this tomorrow. You have to stay dedicated to that. So scheduling for sure.
Yeah, calendar. I would say the same thing. You know, and the teachers we learned that the original man writes history in advance. You gotta write that day in advance. Write that week in advance, right? So that we know what to focus on. To make sure that I'm focusing on the right things. But my calendar. If I show you my calendar right now, it's ridiculous, but it's helpful. And I need it. And as soon as I implemented a calendar and started putting things in the right place, even like relaxation time. Like when you schedule it and it's in a calendar, it's like it's in the calendar. I wrote it. It's there. I can take this time. I have to. I have to. And then on the flip side, when it's time to focus, same thing.
So as we wrap this up, I'm so glad that we have this time with you all. What are some pieces of advice you would have for anybody in this transitory time of adulthood? So your advice can speak to challenges in your career, in your spirituality walk, in your personal life, just any things that you think are super important to kind of get through this, things that have helped you.
Okay. I think something that I'm big on, regardless of who I'm talking to, whichever space they're in. So talk to a lot of different guys, actually black men in specific. Haven't had the opportunity to talk to a lot of women, but whoever I'm talking to, I always say that regardless of what point you're at in your life, I think it's important to one, celebrate the small wins, right? Because we be so hard on ourselves, especially if you're in the struggling point of your life. You're like, man, I'm doing things wrong. I'm not where I want to be or where I'm supposed to be, but you still have to celebrate that you're not where you used to be. I think that's very important, as well as to kind of give time, whatever time you have, to figure out what you love and kind of diving into that. Because if you're doing something that you love, or where you are where you loved, it's like a place of peace. And that peace is important, especially if you're struggling, because it's like, regardless of where I'm at or where I'm struggling with, that peace is what's going to get me through. That peace is what's going to get me on to the next step, or give me the motivation to get to the next step. And so I think that's it for me, is kind of celebrate those wins, because I think that's very important, because you made some progress. You have to give yourself kudos for that. And that purpose piece, as we spoke to all today, is like super big, because I think finding that will kind of guide the rest of your life, no matter if you have control of it or not. Follow your purpose, and you'll follow the end goal that you want to see.
I think for me, the advice that I would give is to show yourself grace. I think that can apply to every area of your life. I think something that I've struggled with is like when I'm consistently making progress and then I mess up on something. That doesn't matter what area of life it is, whether that's career or spirituality or my personal relationships. I'm like, oh, I was doing so good. Now I just messed up, and then I would get very discouraged. And that's something I'm still working on, but to just recognize that progress is not just a straight line consistently going up. You can make progress, and the general trend can be going higher and higher and getting better, but there are going to be dips. But it's in your commitment to saying, I want to do better in this area, you just have to get right back up and understand that, like, you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to like keep trying to get better and improve. So just like you said, celebrating those small wins. And I think take the time to like nurture your inner child and listen to yourself and those things that I think when you're an adult, you can tend to neglect what were the things that brought me happiness and passion, things like that when I was younger. So I think kind of just listen to your inner child, because I think that will help you find like your purpose and things like that, because that's something we talked about. And everything will come out on its own time. Like we said, don't get complacent, but just show yourself some grace, listen to your inner child, just stay committed, and everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. I think both of you all give very, very excellent advice, and I think it relates to my thoughts on it. Is really just lean into yourself, because it's like literally what you need is already in you. And I feel like that's a very hard concept to grasp, because all of the challenges we've talked about, it's like, man, that was really hard. Like when I was graduating, trying to figure out, like, that was really hard. You know, every day to day it's really hard, but I'm still here. And we're speaking from a perspective of, we kind of got through that challenge, like we're on the other side of some of those challenges. So it's like it's already in you. So the more you lean into yourself, and I feel like in those instances when you have those challenges, it's very easy to go outward. What did you do? What did you do? What did you do? How can you help me in this situation? What can this person do? And same way when you're asking for advice, you can also blame other people. Well, because I grew up in this community and my mom didn't do this and this person didn't do this, it becomes very easy to be like, these are all the reasons. But when you really look into, okay, what did I do to get here? How can I overcome this moment? You know, what's really within me to help me get through this? Of course, also leaning on God, but like really just embracing yourself, you're gonna get through it, like automatically, because that's just how life works. You know, we wouldn't have an opportunity to wake up every day if every challenge was meant to stump us. Surely that would just be like the end, you know? So yeah, definitely leaning on yourself.
Good. My piece of advice would be, do all that you can to develop your character, to develop good character. As a quote from the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, he says, "The boat of knowledge floats on the water of good character." So without good character, you know, we can have the career success, the money success, we can have a bunch of knowledge and relationships, but all of that could be ruined through poor character, right? If we start developing, you know, the habit of lying, or we go out and we get, you know, messed up drunk, and we end up messing up something with the marriage, or messing up, you know, a relationship with you know, family and friends. Just good character keeps everything in it's solid and in line, so that you can continue to progress forward. And the more we develop our character, the easier it is to find our purpose. You know, you'll gradually begin to discover what your purpose is as your character and your morality elevates.
Wow,
that was deep.
That was a really good closing point. That was excellent. Well, thank you all so much for being with us today.
Thank y'all for having us.
Honestly, such a gem, such a great opportunity for us to have, and we hope you all love this conversation as much as we do. So thank you.
Thank you all.
And see you all next time.
Bye.
Peace.